is like a classic furry visual novel. It just recently got a big visual update. I remember playing the previous versions of the game and really enjoying it. So I'm very excited to play again and see all of the new art. Hopefully the audio is decent here. Let's see. Too much. Let's see here. Okay. Let's go. New game. Save for work mode. I guess we are on YouTube. It would probably be best to use save for work mode, tragically. Okay, one sec. Let's see your settings. Alright, how's that? Can you hear me okay? Let's turn this down too. Right, and now I am louder, hopefully. I've made this too large. Sorry, this is literally my first time doing this shit, so it's gonna be a hot mess for a moment. But hopefully just a moment. Center. Alright. Boo-ba-da-boo. Okay. I think it's like louder. Okay, let's go. Safe for work mode, sadly. Across the sea you shall find the island of Crete, from which the tyrant Minos demanded tribute in the form of Athens' finest youth. Upon arrival they were sent to a foul location erected by Daedalus, the great architect. 'Twas a labyrinth in which lived the bull of Minos. I'm not good at the art form of mixing, I gotta say. The hybrid was conceived when the tyrant's wife, a once sacred nymph, was stricken by a lustful curse, making her take the bull's lurch. Is that what we're calling it these days? The result was the monster called Asterion, half bull, half man. Having no place in nature, he took to consuming human flesh. He lived in the labyrinth, feeding off of Athenians, but among the sacrifices came a distinguished hero, Theseus, future king. The bright-eyed Athenian captivated the passions of Princess Ariadne, who revealed the secret to defeating the Minotaur. Later, the victorious prince's bronze sword shone splendidly under the sun as he and the princess sailed away from Crete to Naxos. I wonder what that text is from, whether it's actually from a mythology thing. Okay. You don't remember well your journey here. Lost to the night and hours away from the break of dawn, removed and severed from civilization's grasp, you find yourself alone in the middle of an empty bus station. Ooh. Your travels have taken you far from home. All the nights tossing and turning under unfamiliar ceilings have left you with a hollowed-out gaze and unable to recall your previous stop. It feels as if it's been at least 2 nights since you slept in a proper bed. Even the simple act of standing up demands all the spirit you have left, and every step you take comes at the cost of grinding your mind to dust. But it will soon be over. You are close to home. Just one more bus ride, and with luck, it will be long and calm enough for a few hours of uninterrupted sleep. Until then, however, you have to keep yourself awake. With your hollowed-out gaze and steps echoing down the terminal, you set out to explore the station. Okay, hold up. I actually do want to turn the music back up a small amount. Sorry for that. Okay, let's go. You know, a little demonic possession is good for you. Um, okay. Until then, however, you have to keep yourself awake. With your hollowed out gaze and steps echoing down the terminal, you set out to explore the station. The whole place is a sorry sight. It does not have much, and what little it has is neglected and ruined. The bathroom is an atrocious mess. The lobby's floor is stained with age. The asphalt on the terminals is cracking. Even so, it has been built to last, decorated with brutal obsidian pillars cut right out of the earth itself, marble tiles polished into labyrinthine patterns. My goodness, the mastodons. The walls are lined with statues in a grotesque style, their exaggerated expressions locked in wide-eyed screams. The ceiling is covered with latticed reproductions of paintings, Michelangelo's The Creation of Adam, and, a bit up ahead, Picasso's Guernica. The lobby seems to extend forever onwards, lined on either side by rows of closed-down stores. The few units that are not boarded up are nonetheless empty, except for left-behind shadowed trinkets you cannot distinguish. When your spirit falters and you feel yourself about to collapse from exhaustion, the elevator music playing from some unseen speaker is enough of a distraction to keep you going. Until a sudden crackling of static breaks the song. Whoa. You found your way into a cafe, populated solely by an old radio and an even older gentleman. His skin is paper thin. He holds a cup of coffee, and every time he sips from it, his shaking hands spill half the contents. The old man's glazed gaze passes over you a few dozen times before he realizes you're there. As he looks at you, he pats the stool beside him and shakes his hand in your direction. He pours a cup for you. You sit, hunched over the counter, and take a sip. A breeze of life pours over your face. You can't even register what it tastes like. You just know right then and there that you're alive and wide awake. You look to your side, to the old man. His face is contorted into some form of distress, lips quivering as his eyes dart to and fro. He puts a hand over each of his pockets, face still locked in fear, until his right hand falls over his breast pocket. He breathes a sigh of relief and looks at you. He starts talking, but not in a language you understand. He's not even looking at you. His gaze wanders around with seemingly no goal, but eventually he finds a thread you can follow. You seem like a traveler type. You could say that. I've been on the road for a while, trying to make things work. And how's that going for you? I wouldn't be here at 3 a.m. if they were going well. Once more his eyes threaten to wander, but with a pained and laborious scowl, the old gentleman finds in him the focus to stare at you. With that shaky hand, he sips more of his precious coffee. You remind me of... He glances around, this time willfully as he mulls over his words. Yes, you remind me of myself in my younger days. He looks ahead and takes a sip of his drink. You catch a glimmer in his eyes, a sudden wakefulness. I was a fool, never settled down, and squandered my one chance at a proper life. Felt the road would always take me in. Ended up throwing away the one place I could call a home. It's been rotting for who knows how long, and now I'm old. Always wondered if someone would ever take over and treat it right. Now, you do remind me of myself, but I wasn't a good man. Hopefully you don't have the mean streak I had. Well, what should we go with? I try my best about figuring things out. I feel like I'm figuring things out. That seems more honest. I wouldn't say I'm a great person or anything, but I suppose I'm finding my way. Figuring out what's right, one mistake at a time, little by little, making sense of the world and myself. Is that so? I suppose that's as good as it gets. At least nowadays you can try. Back in my day, my father treated me like dirt and no one batted an eye. I saw that happen a lot too. I wasn't the only one. It made beasts out of my siblings and I, having a father like that. But don't you think I'm blaming him? You can only point the finger for your dad at so long, eh? At least eventually I found a way to make a living. How about you, young man? Have you found a calling? Oh, okay, let's go. So this is essentially the character build part of the game. It's pretty straightforward. Humanities, you're better at crafting contracts and can get additional options from them. You're also good at handling bureaucratic situations. I think that's very funny that that's the humanities one. Leader, you are charismatic and a good mediator in conflicts, able to make some choices that are fixed for other backgrounds. Arts, you have vast knowledge of literature, arts, and architecture. You can make renovations to the hotel that bring in additional guests. Tech, you're knowledgeable about computer systems. I think this is the one that allows you to get the internet at that hotel earlier. Math, additional information for better team management and optimization. Speedrunner, additional loot from exploration. I think I'm gonna go with arts. I want to do the cool hotel upgrades. Unless, I'm pretty sure Mara is the only person watching, if you have an opinion. We're gonna go with arts, I think. A man of culture, yes? Now, that's very scarce these days. The old man rambles in the same language from before. Sometimes he stops and stares at you as if expecting a response. A nod or grunt is enough to get him going again. His voice becomes graver and deeper as the night goes on. It is soothing in a way, even if at times he'll again allude to that rough, sorrowful past. Eventually he stops, and his gaze seems to shine with lucidity once more. I must say I'm terribly sorry. I'm afraid I never asked for your name. What is our name? I'm just gonna be Aaron. It's more straightforward that way. Harun. I'm glad I met you, Harun. The old man's eyes become glazed again, and his hands start shaking. Coffee spills everywhere, but it's gone cold already. You seem like a well-traveled man. I'd say. I've been around the block while trying to make ends meet, yes. Traveling when I was young was so difficult. Now you can be on the other side of the globe in a day or two. How the world has changed. There was this one time I talked with my brother just about this topic. Back home there was this vineyard where we spent so many summers eating and drinking. I remember it so well. It's like a moving picture. You know, he told me that when we were young there was so much wonder and magic around us. Magic? It's true. We could walk down the road, a stony little thing from Roman times, and when we were children, once or twice every week, we'd see ghosts rising from cairns and crosses to mingle about. But things have changed so much. I think it's the technology, spirits, and the arcane don't mix well with it. Oh, I think it's the technology. Spirits and the arcane don't mix well with it. Or maybe it's something in the eyes. My brother, he used to say it's because mankind lacks piety nowadays. The unknown is not as frightful either. So much mystery has been lost, and so the bridge with the fantastical broke down. The old man freezes for a moment, then looks back to you. Oh, I was rambling again. I'm so sorry. Don't worry about it. That's interesting to hear. I've seen something supernatural too. Science explains a lot. We're gonna go with Science explains a lot. Hey, Felicity. What's up? We've met this old man in a strange cafe. He's just telling us that there used to be magic in the world, but seems not to be. I think we're gonna say... I feel like we're gonna be skeptical. Science explains a lot. I've seen a number of seemingly unexplainable things. Anyone who travels as much as I did will stumble upon too many to count, really. But I'm good at keeping my cool and paying attention. Too often these unexplainable phenomena are quite mundane in origin. Composting? Which composting? I'm not saying there's people on costumes making hoaxes. Well, actually, yes, there are. Or making deepfakes and posting them online. But too often there's a perfectly serviceable explanation elsewhere. You just have to pay attention and unravel the thread. Unraveling a thread, eh? Now that's quite sharp of you. I may believe in ghosts, I do, but I see the wisdom in your words. Don't let yourself be tricked. You really seem something special, I'd say. Perhaps you will do. Oh, what kind of composting system do you have? Fuck yeah, I've heard you can make soap from English ivy. That's super cool. What's the process? Here, I'd like you to have this. I'm sure you'll take better care of it than I did. The old man takes an old piece of paper from his breast pocket and extends it to you. The deed for the place I told you about, the one I squandered. I'm old. I'm tired. I would like someone to have it. I've been looking for an heir for a while now, and I don't quite feel like I have any more time to waste. Just take it. It's yours. A grandiose place. A hotel. Time's taken its toll, but you'll love it. Just please take care of it. Be good. Give him a purpose. You raise an eyebrow at him. Did this old man try to give you a hotel just like that? Now who would do that? His wandering gaze betrays his senility. At times he seems outright confused, as if he didn't know how he got there in the first place. You can't accept it. It wouldn't be right to take advantage of someone like him. That's assuming that a piece of paper is a deed. It might just be a used napkin with a nice seal. The old man's gaze wanders around. With his hand extended, he squints his eyes at you, then looks down to the paper. He struggles to put his thoughts together, but for a brief moment, his expression grows firm and lucid. Oh, that's cool. I've used a tumbler before. Currently my composting system is just like one of the municipal bins that I just kind of found on the side of the road here. It's pretty decent. We get rabbits in it, but I've decided that that's okay. I looked it up, and rabbit compost, like rabbit poop, is actually decent, like, to put on things, and there's like low disease risk, so I've just been letting the rabbits get into it and turn it, which has been kind of fun, so Sketz has been chasing them. That's super sick that you just have to boil the ivy leaves, though. I'll have to try that sometime. We definitely used to get a lot more ivy when we lived out in BC. Okay, old man. You must think I'm crazy, but please understand. This is my last chance to do it right. Just take the deed. Oh god, should we accept? It seems like we got it right. Otherwise... Yeah, well, let's accept. Our municipal compost is alright. It's kind of nice, actually, because I can go to the dump and I can, like, pick up the dirt. But to be honest, I'm just sus of the dump dirt. Like, I don't know how well processed the compost is, so I've mostly been using it on parts of my yard where I'm not trying to eat stuff. Anyway, we've accepted the deed. You give in to the old man's pleas. You're just accepting a piece of paper after all. It's probably nothing, and if it is indeed something important, you can try returning it. I've obtained the old deed. Hell yeah, Echinacea is awesome. This old piece of parchment looks unimaginably ancient, older than you, that's for sure, but the wax on it is new, perhaps even fresh. You break open the seal and examine the paper's contents. It's gibberish, written in an alphabet you've never seen before. Well, it would seem like this was all for nothing. You stick the deed in your jacket's pocket. You look back up to the old man. The corners of his mouth wrinkle and he shakes ever so slightly, but his joy is short-lived. His gaze wanders once again. When his focus returns to you, he furrows his brow, taking in each of your features one at a time. He mumbles something to himself, takes a sip of his coffee, and relaxes his shoulders. You're a very kind young man, Harun. He does remember your name, at least. You check your wristwatch, and the numbers too have turned into gibberish. You take it you've spent too long here. Your bus must be ready to depart. You collect your luggage, say your farewell to the old man, and thank him for the wonderful coffee. He subtly bows to you. No, Harun, it's I who ought to be grateful. It was a pleasure dealing with you. Okay. You leave the cafe and make your way to the bus terminal. The station is deserted, save for a single man smoking a cigarette outside the cafe. You greet him with a nod, and he responds in kind. Aside from the old man, he's the only person you find. Maybe that ought to be expected at this time of night. You make your way through the empty station. There's no one to greet you at the boarding platform. The bus is so dark you can barely make out the driver's silhouette. As soon as you sit down and recline, you try to process the night's events, but your thoughts skitter away. You don't remember the long journey that brought you here. All the airports, truck stops, train stations, and ports mixed together. The restlessness of an unending journey is the only constant. Too much for just one soul. A single human's mind, so limited and fragile, can only hold so much. It doesn't take much for one of your kind to break, nor do you last long in the bus before giving up. A merciful warmth seeps from your chest as you fall asleep. Chapter 1. The Hotel. Sorry, just get some water. A few days later. Across the windshield-stained horizon sprawl. The wasteland of flat yellow plains stretches onward. The radio's tune has disintegrated into static, and the AC can't keep up with the sun's heat on the car's roof. To the right, about 100 meters from the road, the dusty soil gives way to a sharp cliff. A valley peeks out beneath it, stretching to the blue horizon. You check the deed again. You couldn't read it at first. The exhaustion was perhaps too great, but now the once gibberish characters almost form coherent words. It's like reading a language that had branched off from your native tongue a few centuries prior. I'm guessing it's probably Greek. It's just alien enough to be unrecognizable at first, but while squinting you find that the characters are reminiscent of your alphabet. With a little more effort, the meaning of the words follows. It's unsettling in a way. It feels as if your brain is shifting from the inside out the more you look into it. But try as you might, it's hard to even acknowledge this discomfort. It melts away at the blink of an eye. You squint at the deed. Just an hour or so ago, you had checked it and realized how close you were to the address. And so, you get into your car and set out, with a newfound curiosity and a nagging anxiety fighting it out in your chest. When do we get a car? When are we in a bus station? Maybe the old man had really given you something of value after all, not a worthless scrap of paper. Could it really be? You got a deed for a hotel from a senile man in a cafe. Sure, not many would complain about getting something for free like that, but at the same time, most would argue that it feels wrong. The hotel should be just further ahead. You turn on the engine and set off again. It pops up on the horizon just 5 minutes later. A while later, you pull into it at its parking lot. It's like looking back in time at what must have been one of the greater hotels of the 1930s and 40s. It's built entirely out of marble in an Art Deco style. It's majestic, grandiose even, but utterly ruined by age and made eerie by its surroundings. Who thought building such an incredible place in a desert would be a good idea? You look to the infinite horizon behind you. There's nothing aside from the hotel. No plants of any kind, no cacti, brush, or even dead trees. Only this lonely building, in the middle of a desert, built on top of the cliff's wall. No animals either. The sky is blue, without a cloud or bird of prey in sight. The ground beneath you has no bugs, not even a scorpion or spider. There were no other cars on the road either. You look back to your car's panel. The odometer indicates you've only driven about 7 kilometers. Your car's hood is cool to the touch, as if it had been off for hours. But it's not a dream, and neither is your mind breaking down at the seams. You gaze back to the hotel as you try to form an explanation out of these findings. But something catches your eye, a porch overlooking the valley beneath the hotel. It stretches to the cloudless horizon, framed to the right and left by more cliffs. Looking down to the bottom, you can just make out the outline of a dry riverbed stretching out. There's a cave opening in the cliff wall, right below the hotel. Its exit is lined with statues, the details of which you can't make out at this distance. Right outside, there are rocky tiles spreading out in pathways. You'd wager a guess it was made for a labyrinth of sorts when the river still flowed. The maze ends with a single pathway leading to a high mount, which would have easily stood as an island in the middle of the flooded valley. The region's terrain is much like the hotel. It may have been beautiful a long time ago, but now it's eaten away by time. Your reflection is broken as a more pressing matter sneaks up on you, the heat. Regardless of the unexplainable circumstances around you, there's no escaping the sweltering sun. You walk to the entrance. The doors are unlocked. It's hard to tell for how long this place has been abandoned. The building itself surely is old. The exterior is severely decayed. It wouldn't be surprising if the interior is teeming with wild animals, rotten walls, and fallen pieces of ceiling. But instead it's just dusty, humid and stagnant too. The walls are water damaged and strained with some type of fungus. You call out in the hopes anyone might be there. Maybe some squatters? But just like outside, there's no signs of life at all in the hotel. You walk up to the reception. The counter is covered with decades worth of dust, with pens and yellowed pieces of paper strewn about. It seems whoever was here left this place in a hurry, who knows how many years ago. There's a door behind the reception desk leading to a small but dignified office, abandoned under a similar state of hurry. There are even portraits on the tables showing black and white pictures of a smiling family. In the corner of the room there's a rusted safe. Which one should we investigate, the desk or the safe? I'll actually just be right back. I'm gonna grab some more water. Hello, I'm back. My partner is making some broth to make some borscht, and they had asked me to make sure it didn't dry, because they were going to the thrift store to buy some pants, so I have to watch the soup. Okay, what should we investigate? Let's check the safe. It's an odd combination safe. You kneel down to examine the rusty dial and find that the door was left ajar. Oh, many passports. There's only a stash of booklets inside it. 4 passports, all from different countries. They date back to the late 30s and early 40s. There doesn't seem to be anything special about them, but it's strange that someone would keep passports in an office like this. Alright, now let's check the desk. On the desk is a ledger. Like everything else in the hotel, its pages are yellowed and wrinkly, but it's still readable. It contains a list of guests, their respective rooms, check-in and check-out dates, signatures, and so on. The last guest arrived back in 1944. To be more precise, someone attempted to check in on that date, but was interrupted in the process. I wonder how you can tell that. All the following pages in the ledger are blank. You find a second leather-bound ledger as well. This one has staff written on it in flaking gold paint. It lists all the employees of the hotel during 1944, their country of origin, role. A few have a star scribbled beside their name. This place employed quite a number of people. More than 200, in fact. There doesn't seem to be anything else you can deduce from this ledger. You take a moment to go over the ledgers and passports together. A cursory glance reveals a pattern. The passports are from the 4 employees with stars behind their names. You take them with you. You obtained the passports. Ominous. Not a sign of a good employer that they have their employee's passport. You return to the reception to continue looking around. Up ahead is a tall spiral staircase going both up and down. There are multiple paths branching out from the lobby. You take one of the hallways leading down to the bedrooms and find all the doors unlocked. Much like the lobby, the bedroom's rotting walls are consumed by time. You bring a fresh breeze as you walk into them, disturbing the fine mist of stagnant spores and dust. For a moment, you allow yourself the reprieve of watching this cloud of decay, illuminated by the sun shining through the window, dancing like a curtain of diamonds. Each bedroom is equipped with at least one king-size bed. The springs are busted more often than not, and the fabric yellowed, but not even such desolation can hide the past glory of this place. You return to the hallway and look around. From outside, the hotel had looked big, but not nearly sprawling enough to have a ground floor with over 100 bedrooms. No matter how many twists and turns you take, the corridor never wraps back into itself. Backtracking all the way to the lobby is the only option. The spiral staircase seemed much more inviting than wandering these seemingly empty paths. Over the staircase, all the way up, a skylight drapes the sun's warmth over your shoulders. Like a lighthouse guiding travelers to this once majestic hotel. Also, so far, I haven't played this game in a couple of years. So far, most of the art is the same. I think the old man sprite was different. I think mostly the sprites are different, some of the CGs, and like some backgrounds. So far, the early game ones are the same. I remember always liking this one. The art style of the early game was really simple, but I think it was still pretty effective. Though I'm excited to see the new characters, because the characters were a bit stiff. You look over the marble handrail and find a descent as ominous as the ascent is graceful. It's impossible to see much in the darkness down below. The second floor is mostly bedrooms again, but here the outer hallways are lined with sprawling windows showing a courtyard behind the hotel, close to the cliff's edge. It's a sight to behold. While the hotel was consumed by time, the garden outside had flourished into a field of white flowers resting against this wretched desert's wind. This is a new background. It's really beautiful. At the center is a statue of a man and a dog. The flowers rise up to his knees, while only the top of the dog's head can be gleaned. His hand was outstretched, as if beckoning the flowers to grow taller and for people to approach. The garden seems a more inviting adventure, does it not? You descend back down the marble staircase, with the skylight's warmth draping like a cloak or a hug over your back. You take the hallway leading further toward the hotel's back, and a single turn to the right brings you to a vast room. Right beside its entrance is a bar, and to the left tables, couches, and reclining chairs. Further left there's a tall window of stained glass, not unlike a cathedral's, and through a glass door beside it there's the garden. The wind blowing through sends out a long, continuous whistle. From out this low angle, the statue seems like a king, tall yet humble, beckoning his dear subjects. The flowers sway with the singing breeze, and the dog's head is barely visible above them. As you approach, you catch a glimpse of its darling ears and tongue lolling out from its grinning mouth. Behind the statue, beyond the courtyard, there's a railing overlooking the drop into the valley below. As you walk around the statue, you notice out of the corner of your eye that the dog seemed to have turned its head to follow you. You look again. The dog statue hadn't budged, but it is indeed gazing right at you. You part the flowers and walk up to it, and that's when you notice the dog had 3 heads, one staring forward and one looking off to either side. All 3 of them exude warmth. You pet one of its heads and notice how worn the marble is. People have been petting him for a very long time. Then you make your way to the cliff's edge. Once more you're greeted by the valley. Straight down, far below, you can see the statue-lined cave exit. You can only wonder how vibrant this land must have been ages ago, when the valley's river still flowed. You go back inside, into the vast room. It seems dark but intimate now that your eyesight is used to the exterior's brightness. While the wind's whistling continues outside, you take a seat at the bar. This newfound darkness is smooth, soft as velvet. It's like being in a candlelit lounge. Behind the counter, the bottles of fine spirits are still half filled. They glimmer in exquisite browns, reds, and blues. You close your eyes and imagine how this place must have been decades ago. The whistling shifts again. It turns into the hum of human life, footsteps and breathing, chairs being dragged, cutlery and plates clinking, laughter, whispers, guests greeting each other from across different tables. People dressed so nicely, a barman in front of you serving the finest drinks you can imagine. He knows your name and how you like it, whether you're tired or brimming with life, he lends you an attentive ear. You open your eyes. You're back in the abandoned hotel, majestic and destroyed. One can understand why the old man wished to pass it on to someone who would care for it. You tap your jacket's breast pocket, making sure the crumpled parchment is still there. Even the yellowed, stained paper exudes warmth now. You stand up and walk out. As you do so, you notice a large purple stain on the floor behind the counter, and the glass shards of what used to be a wine bottle. You proceed further into the hotel. All the way down the hallway, a set of sliding glass doors beckon you, but a shiver runs up your spine. The wallpaper ahead is ripped, and one of the doors is cracked. You step on something hard, a revolver bullet. You push the door to the side and find the hotel's kitchen in an even more chaotic state. Cutlery, equipment, and broken dishes are scattered around the floor. There's a darkened stain in the middle of the room trailing further inside. It leads you past the pantry into the massive iron door of a cold room. Nearby you find more signs of life interrupted suddenly. There's a pan on the stove with what must be fossilized food, and the sink is filled with dishes still coated in the desiccated leftovers from almost a century ago. The 1940s are almost a century ago, if you think about it. Kind of upsetting to contemplate. On a nearby counter is a revolver coated in thick dust. The old man wasn't kidding when he said he wasn't a good person. You check your phone. Perhaps you'll need to call the police, or a morgue, but there's no signal out here. You breathe in, preparing yourself for a terrible sight. The rusted door fights against your will, but stands no chance. Darkness pours out. The stench strikes first. It's the stagnant smell of blood and rot, invasive and clinging to your nose, mouth, and throat like a bitter oil. You reel back before your eyes can catch a glimpse of what's inside, but a second wave of air hits you regardless. It's like a farm, too. The scent of dusty fur, maybe even hay, but cooped up in a hot, humid room for decades. Oh, this is a new CG. It's fucking creepy. Look at him. Ugh. Does not look good. And, when you muster the guts to power through it, out comes the distant smell of stale shit and piss. So true, bestie. This place has it all. The air of 1,000 different deaths. Your body, this uncivilized and wild thing, realizes a truth better and sooner than your rational mind ever could. It was not the bullet that got him. This was a slow death, cold, alone, and afraid. You lay your weight on the rusted door and force it open. Light pours in, and as your eyes adjust, you catch glimmers of broken glass and ceramic over the trail of old, dried blood. The cold room extends into absolute darkness, a hallway in and of itself, with a faint glimmer drawing your gaze to the far end where a shape emerges. limbs starved thin, head slouched, unable to even hold its own weight. His back to the wall, not for support, but for safety and vigilance against whoever locked him here. Or whoever could one day open the door. But that was long ago. Whatever fear he felt when the bullet tore through him, however great was the weight of his dark solitude, that pain's gone. Poor thing. And yet, a shy blue light flickers where his left eye used to be. What do? Never fucking call the police. And we're gonna have to examine the corpse ourselves, Ladixes. Your eyesight is used to the dark now. The distant pillar of light bleeding from the doorway is enough to avoid tripping on the discarded glass. You crouch to examine the corpse, and that's when the anomalies become too obvious to write off as the darkness playing tricks on you. It has a bull's head. You look around his neck, searching for a zipper or the edge of a mask, but there is none. It's covered in coarse fur, aside from the patches of sickly, exposed skin, and in the place of feet, you find a pair of hooves. Those are his hooves, you bitch! Horns, too. A single careless jerk of the head could be enough to gore a person. Half of its skull is exposed. Presumably this is where the bullets hit him. The bone still has a smattering of blood dust near the remaining flesh. Its left eye socket is empty, but something shines inside it, a blue ember, or some trick of the light perhaps, reflecting on some leftover from the bullet. But that's enough. You stand up and turn back to leave, and as you do, your rustling clothes and echoing footsteps break the curtain of silence. That's when you hear it, breathing, as faint as a moth's wing flaps. You look back to the corpse. The blue flames flickers at you. Its chest expands and contracts. You take a step toward the spark, and the spark follows you like an eye. What do? Call out. Remain silent. Leave. I don't know. It seems like he's alive, obviously. You set your gaze on the thing, trying to read its torn-off face. Can you understand me? It barely reacts to your voice at first. Your words slink into it and crawl into its head, dig their way into its mind, twist it till it wakes it up. Like a butterfly coming out of its long sleep, the thing's remaining eye shifts back to life. It nods to you. Ugh. Deeply unsexy, babes. What are you? I'm the hotel's keeper and prisoner of the labyrinth. His voice is raspy, nearly a string of grunts booming through the room in contrast with his disheveled body. His remaining eye frowns. And you're the master now, which makes me your servant, bound to your will. I cannot disobey your orders. The thing cradles its head between its arms. His voice comes out muffled. If you wish to know what thing I am a hybrid monster. About my sorry state. The previous master did this to me. And, as your servant, I shall answer the master's questions. He breathes in and wills his body to obey. Legs tense and readjust until his hooves find a grip on the floor. Hands search for and settle on the wall, using it for support as he rises. He stands with shaky legs, and despite the pain, he compels his gaze higher to meet yours, and yet he recoils as a beam of harsh light slips past your shoulder and onto his face. He scuttles an inch to his side, finding better shelter on your head's shadow. Ask your question. I feel like you gotta ask why he's fucked up like that. Why did the previous master do this to you? The creature almost loses his footing, but a brief readjustment of his hooves secures them. Being a monster is reason enough for damnation, master. He chose to return the labyrinth to its original purpose, I presume. His bony jaw opens and closes, chewing on nothing. Does one need a reason to follow the will of the gods. Some sages have said, if one's misery seems never-ending, it is merely Zeus and the 12 telling you to end your own life. Alas, it hardly matters. Regardless, I cannot die. His open wounds stand out as he speaks, alongside his madly flickering flame. How can I help you with your injuries? He exhales sharply at your words, his face sinks. Master need not worry about me. I cannot die, and it stopped hurting a long time ago. A skull feels no pain. What truly hurts is thinking about our guests. For all this time, I wondered often what happened to them. I hope they found belonging elsewhere. How was he locked there? That is what the last master saw fit. He shot me, then commanded that I stay here, in this room. But as you can see, I cannot be killed. I can only presume he expelled all the guests shortly after. Now the hotel must be in as sorry a state as I am. He locked the door as well, but his command was enough. I cannot disobey, so I had no way out. I am a prisoner after all. Okay, let's ask him about being the hotel's keeper. You're a prisoner, but you're also the hotel's keeper? His eye narrows and ear droops. Yes, I was sentenced by the gods to spend eternity here. I did not fight my killer, and for such meekness I was condemned. The gods made this land, which they called the Labyrinth, to house me in my damnation. The master is meant to be my torturer. To that end is given control over the land. There was a master who believed the labyrinth could turn into a soothing place, and that I could tend to it. So, by his will and the will of Zeus, Lord of Hosts, I became the keeper. And by the god's ancient command, the labyrinth attracts those who are lost and have nowhere to go. They become our treasured guests. He closes his eyes for a moment, lost in a daydream. What about your life before you came here? What was it like? It became an infamous legend, though I know not if it persists to this day. I was born from a queen who had an illicit affair with the white bull of Poseidon, god of the sea. I was raised in the court of King Minos in Crete. He took me as his son, even if I was much worse than a bastard. But eventually, my sister demanded I be sent away. Also, I recently read a different piece of Greek mythology fanfiction, Circe by Madeline Miller, the author of Song of Achilles. It was pretty fire. There's also a Minotaur-related anecdote that takes place in it. Father Minos acquiesced. Mother spoke not, so they shipped me off to my first labyrinth alone, with just an axe for company. I stayed there for years. Until one day, the warrior Theseus came for my head in rebellion against Father's reign. He was prepared to fight me, but I had nothing to live for, so instead, he provided me with mercy. As you can see, the previous owner attempted the very same, but I cannot die, not this time. I only lost some flesh. And the hotel's guests. Who lived here? What type of people used to consider this their home? Just about anyone in need, if fate saw fit for them to stumble here. Orphans and runaway children, homeless wanderers chased by their past, shell-shocked men seeking respite. Those who have no one else, and no place to call home. Before this last master took over, the hotel belonged to a man who fought in the First Great War, Master Jean-Marie. He saw fit to bring those displaced by bloodshed. His voice falters for a moment. You hear a little crackling. The hotel was glorious then. Master Jean-Marie survived the Great War, not the one that comes after. So his brother inherited the hotel and saw fit to enact his will against me. He was displeased, I suppose. You pull the hotel's deed from your breast pocket. So, it's this that makes me the new master? Can I hit that? Do we want to hit this, chat? I think you can't hit it in this form, but I think eventually. Romance the Skull Bull. I think maybe he gets a glow up a little later. That's what we're anticipating. Correct. The ownership of the labyrinth was transferred to you. I know who the current master is in his name. Another question comes to mind. What's your name? He hesitates. His burning eye shifts ever so lightly. The master holds the right to pick my name. But if it's your wish to know, the one I was given at birth is Asterion. Asterion of Knossos, adopted son to King Minos of Crete. Is that what it's called? When you're your cuck stepdad? Dude, sure. Asterion looks up to you as he speaks. Perhaps in the distant past those words, adopted son to King Minos of Crete, brimmed with pride. I doubt it. I'm a medium Greek mythology understander. I don't think that's how it was. But today they drip with the wistfulness of a man who has not uttered his own name for decades. For a split second, his remaining eye reflects a strand of light from outside. He becomes cognizant of his baser urges, hunger, thirst, and exhaustion, returning from their long slumber. But it doesn't matter. After all, he cannot die. As a servant, his duty takes precedence. The Minotaur bows to you, the crackling of spine and neck bounces off the cold room's walls. The bond between jailer and prisoner is born from the deed, while that between master and servant is willfully chosen. Will master hear my oath of servitude? Hey, yo! Hey, let's go. You raise an eyebrow at the skeletal Minotaur's gesture. You cannot muster a response. In your silence, the Minotaur glances up to you. He starts shaking, barely able to hold his hands together. His lips tremble in anticipation. Master, the labyrinth was designed to torture me. The Minotaur's voice cracks. The first time you notice a tail thrashing behind him. Hot. The oath of servitude is what keeps it at bay. Please, master, allow me to recite it and take me into your service. Me too, me when daddy. You can only nod in response. With your authorization, he gathers himself and proceeds. By the provisions under the statute of Joseph the Merciful, the prisoner Asterion pledges loyalty and servitude to the master of the labyrinth. The prisoner is made keeper of refuge above the valley and is bequeathed the power to realize the master's will. The master, in turn, binds the labyrinth, forbidding its malicious entities from leaving said valley. The realm was engineered to torture the prisoner, as indeed its mission shall be accomplished. The prisoner will carry the burden of servitude, but shall not suffer the labyrinth's wrath within the refuge's territory. The prisoner, shielded by his master's will, is made safe as long as his duty is fulfilled, under the terms of the statute. Asterion dares not look up to you. Once he finishes his oath, his silence is broken only by the drops of sweat dripping from his trembling face. This is a lot of information to take in at once. If you want anything from me, you'll have to explain things a little better. For starters, gods? Are you telling me gods are real? Yes, pardon me, I failed to consider the times. In the distant past when I still lived, the gods indeed walked the earth, and intervened for and against mortals. They were not so distant, and the evidence of their actions was plain to see. Much grief came from displeasing them. Fear was well warranted. I know not what happened, but over the centuries the stories of the gods intervening directly in the lives of mortals became fewer and fewer. Much more of the magic of the world was lost along these centuries. Even back during the times of the Great War, very little remained. Were there other Minotaurs? No, I was the only one. Never saw or heard of another Minotaur in all those centuries. The Minotaur grumbles, his gaze and his voice lose themselves in the memories of a distant past. But there were other extraordinary beings. When I was alive in Knossos, there were griffins. They were majestic creatures, half bird, half feline, which originated from the great Egyptian Empire in North Africa. So true. Living in the mountains, far away from the concerns of our cities, Crete even had a fair number of Cyclops walking around its length as shepherds. And our land was blessed with many small gods, born from our bountiful nature, as well as emissaries representing us before greater deities. There were many other varieties of such beings, both native to the land and brought to it by many tribes which crossed the sea from all directions to settle there. Even among the humans, there were those blessed by the gods, whose feats and qualities far surpassed what regular mortals could achieve. I went to Minos once when I was 14. It was really beautiful. It was really cool. It reminded me a lot of Egypt, to be honest. He takes a breath and sighs. Nowadays, however, all have grown so very rare. Harder to distinguish, too. I am told they used to rely on magical amulets to disguise themselves as humans. But even with my thousands of years, my thousands of acquaintances and guests, I have never seen or heard of other minotaurs. Have I answered your questions to satisfaction, Master? His gaze flicks back and forth between your silhouette and the entrance of the cold room. He does not wait for your answer. There is the matter of oath. It protects me, my lord. There are creatures in the valley. They cannot harm me inside the hotel, as long as I am under the master's service. The previous oath remained for as long as the hotel remained without a master. With your arrival, I am made vulnerable again. Please, allow me into your service. Will Master Harun take Asterion as his servant under the terms of the statute? I guess we better. I guess we simply must. We'll accept. I accept you, Skullboy. Even though you're kind of fucked up. Very well, assuming you're speaking the truth. Yes, I accept you as my servant. Your words bounce off the walls and slither their way out of the cold room. Light dripping from the door behind you falters. Your shadow, draped over the Minotaur, flickers and shifts slightly. The world itself shudders under your words and responds by slithering into a new shape around you. Asterion still looks down, his frame now slouched further forward and no longer shaking. My gratefulness knows no bounds. I shall not disappoint. I, however, will disappoint briefly, as I must go check upon the soup. BRB. Howdy. It's true. My brand new computer. Sorry, I was just checking on some soup my partner left me to watch. We've encountered this strange Minotaur man in a cave under a mysterious hotel that an old man we met in a bar in a train station gave us the deed to. He's just sworn an oath to us, which I think means he'll do anything we want, ooh. So, maybe we can hit that after all. I may be in a sorry state now, but I promise swiftness and recuperation. If Master so allows, I will take my leave for the moment. I need only take a trip to the infirmary to tend to myself. He raises his head ever so slightly, glancing at the doorway. I am still unable to leave the room until you command me otherwise, however. I think this is about tone and how nice we are to him. I think we should be nice to him if we do in fact want to hit that. So let's offer to escort him. Undying as he may be, the Minotaur's body is atrophied. He won't go far on his own. You take a step forward and extend a hand. Despite the darkness, you can make out his scapulae and sagging skin. Can you walk on your own? Asterion averts his eye by looking down to his legs. Master ought not worry about me. These shoulders have carried heavier loads. Hey, yo. He won't look up to you. There's just a hint of pride in his voice. Okay, we can command him to accept our help, or let him leave the room. I feel like we gotta have a consent-based system here. Otherwise, things could get weird in our Greek mythology fanfiction, BDSM 24/7 servant-master dynamic. So, if he says he's good, I guess we have to let him leave on his own, right? Very well. You have my permission to leave the room. Without uttering a word, the Minotaur bows to you and puts his hands on the ground to try and rise up. He struggles, first in snapping his knees from this new position and then in finding his balance. He succeeds after leaning on the wall for support. One step at a time, he ambles toward the door, taking breaks to rest and adjust his eyesight to the light. It takes a long time, but he leaves the cold room and makes his way to the infirmary. You follow him closely, making sure he doesn't trip and get hurt. Asterion's back is covered in bed sores. There's next to no muscle on his limbs, but out of sheer force of will he makes it on his own. The infirmary is like looking into a period piece about the Second World War, with an added layer of dust and rust. Much like the kitchen, he was evacuated in a hurry. There are clipboards strewn about, medication and vials left half opened, even the hypodermic needle still loaded with a sickly yellow liquid. Squinting his eyes, Asterion walks up to the drawers. He examines each one, silent, until finding shards of green glass, and a purple dried-out stain. The Minotaur slouches forward and sighs. He scrapes a finger on the wood, trying to gather some of the purple dust, but it's no use. He places a finger in his mouth, tasting the slight flecks of dust with his dry tongue, and continues to idly bite his finger as he continues his search. You join his seeking. All you find are dusty bandages, long-expired medications, and, deep in one of the drawers, a nearly empty bottle of wine. You hold it up against the window. There's just an inch of liquid left. The cork is dried out and crumbling into dust. In this heat it must have turned into vinegar already. You're about to put it back when you notice Asterion's gaze following the bottle. He looks up briefly to your eyes, his face contorted into a pleading frown. Is this what you're looking for? The Minotaur nods meekly. The wine heals me. He does not budge until you extend it to him. Only then does he bow. The Minotaur sits on one of the infirmary's beds. The cork crumbles to dust when he pulls it, leaving the bottle still clogged. Should we offer to open it for him? Oh, that looks rough. In the daylight, it's much worse. Yeesh. Hope I don't get whatever he has. We're gonna offer to open it. I feel like he's not used to asking for help. You extend a hand to him. He switches from looking at his bottle held close against his chest to your hand. His grip tightens and his hand shakes from the effort, but he returns it to you. Ah, 1 sec, my partner just got back and I am in the basement. BRB times 2. Actually, I think maybe I might call it at this point. Thank you for joining. We will continue at a later time. Goodbye, pals.